Can we fix him?
Pocket bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and in this video, we're gonna see if we can repair this Horus Ascendant model that came pretty banged up in the mail. So I never thought I'd be making a video like this, but when I started looking at all the breakages here, I was like, well, maybe this can make a pretty good video. See if we can salvage this in a good way, and it's going to require some touch-up paint, some pinning, well, just gluing in general, tweezers probably, all sorts of different things that folks never really get to see us doing here unless, you know, we were streaming live back in the day. So I think this might be a pretty interesting watch. Liber Daemonica painted this. We do a little trading here and there for different things. I'll do some videos that help promote some of their bits and products and things, and in return they'll paint stuff for me, which I think is a pretty good deal. And this particular guy right here, well, it's the new Horus Ascendant from Forge World, and I was like, well, he's pretty dope, I gotta have him. And I sent it over to him and I was like, all right guys, have fun. And well, they posted it up on their Instagram and it is just gorgeous. I think the cape is really what gets me with this model. Is it's just in the purples and all the oranges and everything kind of carried throughout the mace, and then the eyes of Horus on the front and things like that. But it's a gorgeous model, and I saw it on their Instagram and I was kind of hoping this one was mine, and then they messaged me that it was and they sent it over. But unfortunately, it ran into a little bit of an issue on the way. Well, some things don't always turn out according to plan, and thanks to the wonderful men and women at the United States Postal Service, well, this was actually magnetized to get the model out. But the rest of this was, well, let's just say unnecessary. So now we're gonna go about trying to, well, repair this ridiculously painted Horus model here that is just gorgeous. And it's gonna be a bit of a feat because some of the parts that I was able, well, some of the pieces rather, that I was able to find are rather small, and we're gonna have to pin Horus's mace. So it's gonna be a little while, but let's see what exactly, oh, and to complicate matters a little bit more, I suppose, this arm goes here, and then the cape actually has the other piece of the ammo feed. So I'm gonna have to line up 3 pieces simultaneously to fix a break right there, which is gonna be very interesting. So let's see, and it looks like there's no glue in there, so we might be able to just make it work. But it's gonna take a little bit of effort. Well, let's just say it's maximum effort time. First up, I think I'm gonna try to fix the base because I think that would be the easiest, and let that dry because these contact points are so small before I get into the rest. And I have a sneaky suspicion that some of these shards right here actually go there. So I have a little bit of reference material to go on because Liber Daemonica posted this painted model on their Instagram. So I can just kind of scroll through this and try to piece it up best I can from these pictures, which are going to be extremely helpful. So yeah, definitely definitely like that they posted this up on their Instagram, because now we can fix it here, hopefully. So let's see how that goes. This didn't quite turn out as good as I wanted it to. At least it's not going to look like the original picture. But I realized trying to get those pieces to line up was pretty much going to never work, which is sad. We did get the piece fixed right there on the vertebrae, but this will just need a little bit of touch-up paint and a little bit of matte coat, which probably isn't a bad idea either, because I'm actually not sure if they matte coated this whole miniature. So we'll probably do that at the end regardless. But we are going to need a little bit of touch-up paint there, and I'm happy with that. Next up, since this is going to be a bit of a pain in the butt to align all these things back here, I figured it would be better off to pin this first and get that knocked out before we try anything else at this point, because there's a good chance that if I put this together back here, that when I go to pin up here, that the pressure will break something back here. So I'd rather just get this done because this will be nice and sturdy with a pin in it. But the only thing is we're just gonna have to kind of figure out first which way this lines up, which I think I just figured out because I can see some of it's either that way or that way. I think it was the other way. But more importantly, we're gonna need to figure out what size pin we can use here. And I think it looks like we might just, judging by the diameter, it looks like the paper clip's gonna win. A good old paper clip coming in clutch. So we'll go with that. Now, whenever you go to pin something, one of the very first things you wanna do is grab you a thumbtack or something that's just easy to poke onto your model, and sharp, of course, which I think this one's still sharp. So what I'm gonna do is just try to get a nice point right there in the center of the miniature of the piece. And I'm not sure how this attaches. It looks like it attaches at the hand. So I'm not gonna try to put too much pressure on it. But what I'm trying to do is make a nice little pilot hole for my wow stick to come in. And if I line it up right in the center, we should be okay. So we'll do that to both halves here as best we can. Next up, we need to get our wow stick set up. Now I don't know which one of these is gonna do it. It looks like this one will be, you wanna go, that's pretty close, but this one will allow it to slide and give it room for glue. The question is there enough room on the model itself? And barely. So we may have to use this first one, this thinner one first. Now you set up your wow stick, it's a quick release, which is nice. And now we're gonna have to carefully drill. Luckily, it looks like this is more than wide enough to accommodate glue and the pin, so that was nice. So now we're just gonna have to try to carefully drill this out a little deeper. There should be a little bit more width on this, but I gotta be able to hold it together and make sure it doesn't pop off the hand. We got a nice pilot hole there, so that's looking good. And now we glue. So that turned out pretty well, just putting a little dab of glue in there and just adjusting it. I noticed that the rod was bent at the last second, so I kind of used the little clippers there to kind of bend it and get it locked in. And yeah, I think that turned out well. It looks a lot sturdier than it used to be. So this looks to be a success. So let's take a look at the last part, which I think is gonna be perhaps the trickiest because it's kind of like a three-part assembly. This seems to have popped out, and then you've got, like I said, the ammo feed right there, which has to lock in to this at precisely the right angle, which finding it is gonna be a bit tricky. So we'll have to play with this, figure out exactly how this sets in here, or how it was setting in here, and then figure out where we're gonna balance this guy right here. I realized looking at this picture and then looking at the pieces that I forgot, there's a little ammo feed bit. So it's gonna basically become a little bit more complicated because now we have to line all that up together, which is like 4 different parts. Now that makes a lot more sense. So now I'm gonna try some touch-ups with a couple different colors here. I think this brown gray is gonna do really well on the underneaths, and then I can mix it up with some neutral or darken it back with a little bit of black here, just depending on what I might need. So I'm gonna bust out the water bottle lid paint palette right there, one use disposable, and see what we can do. I think that turned out pretty well. When we hit it with a little matte coat, that shine will go away, and you don't see any more of those resin breaks in there, which is really nice. On this guy, unfortunately, I guess, what is it, underarm tubing? Well, not gonna be able to do much about that, unfortunately, because I don't know where those pieces are. They just kind of disappeared. But the way the pose is, you won't really be able to see it unless you pick it up and you look at it, in which case I'll, already be asking you why you're touching my model and doing that. So I think it is a success. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how this model turned out, all things told. We were able to re-secure and pin the mace on the front of the model. And from the side, you can see that little piece of bone on the one skeleton is all fixed. The standard isn't quite the same, but you can't really tell that it was any other way, I suppose. And the ammo feeds are pretty locked in and don't look out of place at all with that little kind of bend and everything in the wave that they attached from the arm in between both ammo feeds, the ones that were attached to the cape and then the ones that were attached to the arm. So that turned out very well. I think that was probably the hardest part that we didn't really have a substitute for. So yeah, I think that came together very well, and I'm super happy with it. Thanks for watching our little US mail snafu restoration. Not quite an eBay restoration, but definitely was already painted up well. It just kind of came a little smashed. Sometimes the wheels come off, right, so to speak. Of course, also special thanks to Liber Daemonica for painting this up for my personal collection, but then we also turned it into a learning experience, a little teaching lesson there, I guess, for everyone too. And of course, make sure you check out LiberDaemonica.com. They've got conversion bits, and of course they are a commission studio, so whether you want one miniature painted up dope or a whole bunch or an army, hit them up over there or on the socials, and I'm sure they can accommodate you and your project, because I've seen them paint up quite a bit and they definitely stay busy. So hit them up if you're looking to get your stuff painted here very soon.